It doesn't happen often that a client asks me to make their website multi-language, but sometimes it does happen. And in the past, I used another plugin. I made a video about this a few years ago, which actually got a lot of views, probably because it was a free option, but honestly, the setup was quite painful. And this is because you had to set up quite a few things yourself, and this plugin also duplicated every single post and page. So if you had like 4 languages on your website, you ended up with 4 versions of the homepage. So then if you want to make a change to your homepage in your page builder, you have to open that same page 4 times. And that's of course not an ideal workflow. And I don't know about you, but the older I get, the more time I spend in this software world, the easier I want to make it for myself. But I never really took the time to find a new translation solution because I also don't get this question a lot. So then Weglot approached me, which I know has a good reputation. So I said, sure, I'm open to explore because I just had this idea in my mind. I needed a new solution, but I wanted something easy. And so I tested this. It turns out it's actually a really easy and clean solution for multi-language websites. The setup literally takes like 5 minutes to set up multiple languages. There's no duplication of content within WordPress. It works inside of WordPress and outside of WordPress, so for AI coded solutions, which is what I prefer these days because I'm starting to do more websites outside of WordPress. So now after testing it, I feel confident putting my name behind this brand because it is a good product, it has a very nice experience, and the workflow is just so superior than the other solutions I've tried before. And to me, that is now more important than saving every single dollar. And from my experience, the clients that want a multi-language website are often the more serious clients who are totally okay with spending a few dollars per month if it makes their business look more international. I mean, I'm not going to pay for this solution myself, right? I charge my clients for it if they want this. And of course, I want an easy solution to work with. So I can confidently say that the next time I have a client who wants a multi-language website, I'm definitely gonna try to push Weglot, or I'm just gonna install it and make it part of the monthly package because it just keeps everything so clean in the background, and I'm starting to care more about this kind of stuff. So let me show you my testing, and then I think you will also see that this is a nice solution if you care about speed and an headache-free workflow. So thank you to the Weglot team for sponsoring this video. I think you guys have built something great here, and I'm honestly a bit annoyed that I didn't explore this before because it's just great. Okay, let's get into it. So the big idea behind this translation plugin is that it does everything without duplicating content. So it doesn't really change WordPress or the database that much, and they do this apparently by rendering the HTML and then detecting text elements and then translating them and then storing those translations inside of the Weglot plugin to reuse them later. And that's of course a big deal because you don't want to end up with 4 versions of your homepage, 4 versions of your header, your footer, just to have multi-language. So even adding the actual language switcher doesn't require you to do anything in your page builder. The moment you install this plugin, it just adds this thing in the bottom right corner. That's the default, you can change it, but it just works straight out of the box. Let's quickly test it, and here you can see. You can, by the way, also add it to the WordPress menu, so then it becomes a menu item. And that's a really smart approach because then it's not another widget, it just becomes part of your menu. So if you're using the traditional menu widget in Elementor, then you don't even have to open Elementor to add the switcher to your website. So the translation happens automatically once you add a new language. And this whole process only takes like 5 minutes, and compare that to the other translation plugin, which can take up hours because you have to do all kinds of things in the backend, make sure that all the little details are connected. So when I experienced Weglot for the first time, I was like, wow, this is nice. And then you might be thinking, well, if it only checks the front-end HTML, then what about the internal pages like logged in content or WooCommerce dashboards? I also tested that, and it translated the actual inside of WooCommerce. I have no idea how they do this, but this is quite cool. And then for the actual translation, it's obviously an AI translation because AI is really good at language, but maybe your client doesn't trust or like AI. That's not a problem. You can literally hire humans here in the platform to do the translation for you, but that of course comes with a serious cost, but the option is there. I mean, this is the question we ask ourselves these days, right? Are we gonna let a human do it or an AI? So if you wanna try Weglot yourself, then you can of course do that. You can do that via this link or the link in the description. But let me just show you the flow, because then you can see how easy it is. Okay, so you make your account, they ask you a few questions. You have to create a project for your website. It gives you an API key. You copy that API key, you install the Weglot plugin from the WordPress repo. There's a notice here, you click that, you paste your API key, you put in your original language, you add the language or languages that you want, you save your changes, and that's literally it. Now you have a language switcher on your website. That's the default, which you can change. Let me show you. But first, it also translated the menu and the footer, as you can see, and also all of the blog post. Here you can see that inside of WooCommerce it also works. The product pages are translated, the pop-ups, the checkout, everything. Then the backend looks like this. It looks clean, even though it's still kind of like the traditional WordPress style, which they kind of like mixed with more modern boxes. So here you can see some of the settings. You can change it to a circle or more like a traditional flag. You can add the name of the language in here. You can even just turn it into 2 flags if you don't like that drop down. And there's an override CSS feature, which is nice. And like I said, you can add that switcher to the menu by just going to the WordPress menu, and then you have this new option over here. So it's just a menu item, but there's also a shortcode. So if you're using Elementor, you want to place it somewhere else, you just use the shortcode widget and you add it anywhere on the website. Then here's the dashboard. So here you can see that it's actually a SaaS. It's not just a WordPress plugin. That's why it works multi-platform. But here you can see the amount of words that it has translated. And that also tells you whether you can still stay on the free plan or not. The free plan gives you 1 translated website, by the way. And let's say that there is a translation that you don't like or your client don't like. You can just change the final result here and it will then update on the website. And there's even a visual editor, which is kind of like a page builder, which by the way only works if you save your domain name, I found. But then you can click on any element and change it, which is a more visual workflow than the list view that you saw before. Then what about SEO? Well, apparently Weglot creates separate translated URLs. It will add the H tags and then translate the SEO metadata as well. So that's pretty cool because it shows it's not just a visual translation layer. The translated pages are built in a way where it makes sense for multi-language SEO. And then I also tried it on a vibe-coded solution like Replit. So I asked my agent to add this script to the website and it just did that. But for some reason, I had to add a CSS selector to make it work. It didn't work right out of the box like on WordPress. So I'm not sure if I did something wrong here. I'm gonna ask them for more information. But with that CSS selector, it worked on the vibe-coded website as well. Pretty cool, right? So then what's the price that you have to pay for this level of convenience? Let's take a look. Like I said, they do have a free version, which is 2,000 words and 1 language, which is more than enough for most small websites. So that's really nice. You can install it on some of your smaller clients for free. The pricing becomes quite a bit more for bigger websites. But what is interesting is that from the Pro plan, you can actually have multiple websites on this plan. So here you can see that the first few plans only allow you to install it on 1 website. But from this point on, you can do it on multiple websites. So at some point for an agency, it makes sense to buy a bigger package and then just include that in your monthly package to your client. So it becomes a better deal. And I asked them if they have like a client feature that allows you to then have multiple projects which are linked to multiple team members or clients, and they said yes. So that's something you get with the bigger plans. So as you can see, you're definitely paying a few dollars for this convenience, but again, this is something you let your clients pay for. And if your client really has a huge website, then you have to have the bigger package, but then you can share those credits on other projects. So that definitely makes it better. So this is not a product for everyone, but if you care about speed, about a nice workflow, you want to keep your WordPress backend clean, especially if you let your clients into the WordPress backend, then you really don't want to have multiple versions of your homepage. Then I think this is a nice solution. Like I said, I wish I would have known this earlier. And yes, I know this is a sponsored video, but I genuinely mean this. This is a great, super simple product. Again, if you want to try it out yourself, there's a link in the description. I hope you found this video useful and it can save some of your projects from headaches. That's all I wanted to say. I hope to see you in one of my next videos.